Hello, everyone. I'm to a special Christmas Criterion Connection. I'm Wade,
And I'm Scott.
and we're here to talk about Louis Malle's 1981 film, My Dinner with Andre.
Which, unfortunately, to my dismay, is not about Wallace Shawn hanging out with Andre the Giant.
Though, I don't know if you caught it, around 89 minutes or 88 minutes into the movie, he does say inconceivable.
He does, and I was thinking, I was watching this with my wife, and we were both wondering. You think Rob Reiner saw this movie, heard him say inconceivable, and like, that's my guy. I think he's gonna say that a lot.
Maybe.
I like to believe. I like to believe there's like
I
that
could
connective
see a lot
tissue.
of directors being like, I really like these two. Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory or Grigori.
I think it's Gregory.
Gregory.
I say Gregory. I don't care.
But the movie is basically them talking for an hour.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, an hour and, well, I'd say an hour and a half because there's that 10 minutes.
At the beginning, him getting to the dinner, and then there's that like 5 minutes after the dinner. But one thing I will say, a lot of times when you get a movie like this, like with a title like this, I often joke, and I'll say like for example, the movie Barbarian. I often joke, I say, well, I refuse to watch it because there is not one actual barbarian in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's a joke. This is one of those movies where I would say like, well, I'm not going to watch this movie unless it's an entire dinner with someone named Andre. It is. This movie is exactly what the title tells you. If you see the title of the movie and you put it on and you're disappointed by what you get as far as like the concept, that is on you.
Yeah. So basically, Wallace Shawn, aka Wally.
Well, I don't know if he was credited in this, but in some of his earlier roles from this, he was credited as Wally Shawn.
So he's like a playwright, and he meets Andre.
Another playwright.
He establishes he doesn't really like Andre that much. He's very like, he's fine. He's an acquaintance. He's whatever.
He doesn't hate him.
He wasn't looking forward to the dinner.
Yeah, and I think we can all relate to that. It's like even if we're hanging out with somebody who like we know and love, like, so sometimes you're in a period of your life where you're like, this isn't really what I want to be doing right now.
So this is perfect for the Christmas season because everyone's gonna be gathering with family that they don't share the same political beliefs or the same life beliefs or the same like idea of like what is life as humans. So this is perfect.
Well, it's funny because as you make that joke, it actually is very appropriate because this movie, in many ways, is kind of like an instruction manual on how to actually have a real conversation, and not just a conversation where you're just you're all instinctively agreeing with each other.
How about them ravens or something like that?
Right, but because throughout the movie, like, they'll agree with each other, they'll disagree with each other, but at no point is there any malice between the two of them. Neither of them look down on each other.
It's a healthy debate.
It really is. And honestly, I felt the conversation, especially with more so from Andre than Wallace.
Well, he talked most of it.
He did, but what's
he was a
interesting,
regular motor mouth.
But you know what? He had such a way with how he spoke and what he talked about. Like, I was enthralled. I was interested in every single story that he told.
What's great is they're two playwrights, but they're two vastly different people. Where Wallace Shawn is just like, he's like very grounded, down to earth. Like he takes the subway. Like he lives in New York. Meanwhile, Andre's not really high society, but he's like, I've been to Tibet, I've been to Israel.
He's lived a more eccentric, more outgoing, a more
it's kind of a
unconventional life. In a way, yes. And
Wallace is like,
but self-aware. He's also self-aware, which with people like that tends to not be the case. So he's definitely got his feet on the ground.
There's a moment near the end where Wallace kind of like disagrees with him. This is why I don't disagree with you. And there's a moment where Andre's like, he doesn't like start arguing with him. He's just like, okay, I see where we're spinning here.
It's like it also shows. I guess in a way, it's also showing the value of being a good listener. And with that, you talk about how at the beginning Wallace doesn't want to actually be there. He's kind of just, and he talks about how he likes asking questions. He likes hearing people's answer. It makes him feel like an investigator.
And he's the one getting asked the questions.
Well, yes,
at some point,
but
harsh
also
questions.
But what's interesting is throughout the movie, you kind of see him come out of that shell, because at the beginning, he's just asking he asks like a couple like very vague questions, like, "Hey, what have you been up to?" Whatever.
Yeah.
And then as it progresses, he's getting more and more into the conversation. He's getting more and more into the events of the dinner. And his questions are getting more complicated. His answers are getting more complicated. He's become so comfortable in this conversation that he truly feels like he is comfortable with expressing himself as best as he can, because he'll even tell you he doesn't know necessarily how to express what he wants to do, but he feels comfortable enough to where he can try.
He feels comfort as in a comfort of electric blankets.
Yes.
Because he loves his electric blanket. Don't take away his electric blanket.
Well, who wouldn't? Cold New York nights.
There's a lot of like things that like still precedent today of like how like there's a moment where Andre says something like 1960s was the last breath of human being. And ever since then, we're getting further and further away of what it means to be human. And we kind of are with AI and social media and stuff like that. Like, it's just, we're kind of disconnected to the world.
And I definitely agree with that. But in a way, I also feel like we have enough realization to where I feel like there's certain people and there's certain groups and there's things out there that kind of see that and are trying to help us with that and trying to go away from it, which it kind of plays into the movie as well, because they don't treat it as like it's a definite, it's a guarantee, like it's a completely bleak idea. They look at it as like, in a way we can avoid this, but it's just, how do we do it?
It's
how do we wait? As he put it, how do we stop those people from being bored? How do we stop those people from being asleep? You know?
And there's moments of like where Wallace kind of like, you talk about Mount Everest, but like the cigar store next door, you can get just as much realism out of that as you do about where there's a big tit for tat, but it's never malice. It's never like they're arguing. It's more of just a conversation, a debate, which is sadly we live in a society where you can't have that.
Well,
you can't. It has to be I'm right and you're wrong. There can't be like a middle ground ever.
And I feel like it's because we've reached a certain point. I don't know. I can't specifically say when. I can come up with possible ideas. But we've come to a point now where the concept of the debate has become weaponized. It's not about seeing things from other people's perspectives. It's trying to be right. And that's really not that's partially what a debate's about. But to truly debate someone and to truly have that conversation means you do have to listen to them. You do have to see where they're coming from.
And you have to be vulnerable.
You do have to be vulnerable.
You have to be like, because there's times where Wallace, what I like about the film is like, it's literally just like a couple angles at a table. But when they have the moments like when Andre's really into like thought, he's talking about like, we're not human beings. Like, I'm playing the part. I'm acting. I'm playing the part of a husband, blah, blah, blah. The camera's straight on him and it's close on his face. But sometimes it'll cut to Wallace's reactions. Like when it's like you see Wallace's eyes kind of like glimmer a little bit like, what is he talking about? And then they'll cut to like a 2-shot or whatever. But there's times where they purposely do like a 1-shot of each person.
Well, and they do some interesting little things with some of the shots where like it'll be a normal like 2-shot, but like you'll see it start to angle a little bit, or like a close up and it moves, and you can kind of see one of the things. I don't know if you did this, but when I was watching the movie, one of the things I was interested in doing was once I noticed the little mirror behind them, or when I noticed
to catch the camera,
when I saw like the little spots. Where you can see like the waiters and everything. I'm watching it and I'm seeing what they're doing and I'm seeing what's going on. And something that I thought would happen, and it did, but it's okay that I assumed that was, I was looking at the people more so and seeing how would it be less and less as time goes on. And of course by the end there's nobody. They're as they're leaving the place.
Because the waiters are like kind of like, come on. So I will say that they didn't eat their dinner at all.
No, they did. You could definitely see Andre eating that whatever that orange thing. I want to say it was an orange, but you could see him bite into it.
Because the waiter took their.
Like, he ate some of the leg.
Okay, because the waiter just took like almost a whole plate of food away from Andre.
I don't know, but those were the sluttiest quails I've ever seen. I'm not trying to kink shame, but like those quails with just their legs spread out like that. I don't know. That was a little racy for 1981.
Though I have one qualm.
No, quail. Quails.
I have one qualm. At no point did Wallace Shawn, after this big long debate that Andre said, the big long monologue that Andre says, does Wallace say, "I'll have what he's having"? At no point he does that.
Well, especially because he does have what he's having.
I personally feel like I'm more on the Wallace side of the conversation because I'm just like, I just like living. I just like, whatever. And I feel like, I think even like, there's a point where Wallace is like, you got to lean back and just enjoy things. Because I feel like it's very exhausting to think like, I'm dead inside. Like this is a big old dream. We're not really living. It's like, that's got to be exhausting.
Well, yeah, true,
But that all the time.
But he also says something that I don't agree with necessarily, and that is this idea that you have to be doing something.
Yes.
And I don't believe that you have to be doing
both
something.
Both of them have good points, and both of them are wrong in points.
Well, and the thing is,
it's like they're human.
But the thing is, even when they're wrong, there's so many shades of gray that you can't even necessarily say someone's 100% wrong.
But like, there's a good point where like, Wallace is like talking about like how like with his relationship that he doesn't like those quiet moments. It's like he feels like he's failing as a human, but if you think about it, he's actually succeeding as a human because you're having those feelings
exactly
of fear, failure, stuff like that. Like, and those are real things of like relationships. Like you learn down as if you're like 20 years old and you're like suffering in relationships, whatever, you'll learn as you get older that like those quiet moments are important.
Right.
Those quiet moments are just enjoying each other.
And don't
in
feel
the same room is nice.
And don't feel bad when you're having them because I think when you're younger and as you're going into adulthood and as you get older, you feel like you need to, like Wallace, you need to be doing something. Something needs to be happening. And sometimes nothing happening can be the best thing. Yeah. And it might drive one of you crazy, but like I said, I don't believe that you have to be doing anything. And I think once you take out that idea that you have to do something, it makes, not only does it make doing nothing easier, but honestly, it makes doing things easier. Because I feel like when you take out that have to, you make the things that you want to do more enjoyable.
Yeah, and there's a great moment at the end where after the end of the dinner, he takes the taxi, he's just going down the street, and it's more of like, this is not a street to me. These are just like the memories. Like this is where my dad gave me my first haircut. This is me and my dad played. It was an ice cream shop. So stuff like that. It's just like how everything, like even the meaningless things have meaning to it.
It's almost like that dinner made him realize that there's more to what's around him than what's around him.
Yeah. So Scott, let me ask: would you recommend this film to the general audience? I'll say this. I'll start first. If you like podcasts, yes, because this is like the original.
This is like a podcast, yes.
It's a podcast kind of discussion, interview, a little more intellectual than if you listen to like a Joe Rogan, where it's just like, is it weird that, like the earth may be flat or something? No, it's nothing like that. It's more of just, it's more they're engaged and they're not talking down to each other. They're just engaged. They're talking to each other.
Talking with each other. To each other.
And that's if you like those kind of podcasts, definitely watch this. It's definitely, if you like the Tom Cruise doing his own stunts or whatever, probably gonna be boring for you. Real talk, it's probably gonna be really boring because it's just literally two people. If you like Kevin Smith, you'll like this movie.
That's a fair assessment.
Because there's definitely a lot of two shots of people talking, sitting down talking.
Yeah, but if you like modern Kevin Smith, don't worry, you can skip it because he's not gonna cry about Batman or something. But I personally, I want to say yes. I can't 100% because it all depends on how interested in simplistic movies you are and minimal, I don't want to say minimalism, but minimalist movies where it's very simple. It's one location, two people, one thing. If you can handle that, I think you're in for a good time.
This is definitely a good movie for aspiring writers.
Yeah, aspiring writers, and honestly, aspiring cinematographers too, with how to take basic shots but try to make them a little more interesting.
Yeah.
But I had said to you, your shirt was very appropriate for what we're talking about. He's wearing a Trauma shirt, as you can see.
Total accent, by the way.
In the credits, I saw that. I don't know to what extent, but Trauma actually helped out with My Dinner with Andre. They are specifically noted, and I think as a production assistant, Lloyd Kaufman is credited.
Oh.
So I thought that was a really interesting choice.
I literally just grabbed a t-shirt and put it on.
I was going to say, I thought that was a very interesting choice. I was really excited when I saw that at the end. So, I guess technically it's a trauma movie. So if you like trauma movies,
good job, Uncle Lloyd.
You got to watch it.
So that's our thoughts on My Dinner with Andre. Let us know in the comment section below what you think of this film. Is there any other minimalistic films that are on the Criterion collection that we have not done yet? We've done almost 250 episodes, so there's still like 700 more out there.
And is there more Wallace Shawn in this collection?
Yes. Well, we did Princess Bride.
I know, but more Wallace Shawn
I'm saying
that we've already
the second Wallace Shawn that we've done together.
Because I
only one second that involves someone named Andre.
That is funny. That is interesting. But no, I find him charming.
They had dinner in Princess Bride.
They did.
So
and I'm sure he ate with Andre at some point, so he had another dinner. But yeah, I'm still waiting for the Criterion release of House Arrest from the mid-90s. And when that comes
Vacation.
out, and Vegas Vacation, we'll be changing 1500 to infinity, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
like, subscribe, share. This is the last Criterion of 2023.
I hope we went out good. I think we did.
2024 is coming up. That means next year we are going to be reaching our 250th episode somewhere. I think we're in the 240s right now. So we're definitely hit 250. So please subscribe. Let's make 2024. 2024 is actually the 10-year anniversary of when we started the Condish podcast.
Yeah, the podcast that became...
It blossomed into the YouTube, and it blossomed into the film stuff. It blossomed to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that podcast started late 2014. So next year is the 10-year anniversary. So big plans for 2024 on this YouTube channel. So you want to subscribe.
And we want to say thank you to everybody who's supported us throughout these years. If you've ever liked a video, subscribe to the channel. If you've purchased the Butterfly Black Velvet DVD, if you've ever worked on if you're watching this, if you've ever worked on a project we've worked on, any of the shorts, any project we've worked on with other people.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, because even if you've never supported us directly, your help and the experience we shared with you, I think has helped us become not just better people, but also better filmmakers, hopefully better YouTubers. And like I said, we just can't be any more grateful to everybody for, helping us out whatever way they can.
All right. That'll about do it. So if you're watching this during the holiday season, happy holidays. If you're not, then this is Christmassy. If you want to be in the Christmas mood, here you go. Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm Wade.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll see you later.